I vår fyller Israel 75 år. Kerenkaemet har i över 120 år utvecklat det moderna landet Israel. Vi har utfört omfattande miljöarbete, trädplantering, ökenbekämpning, vattenprojekt, infrastruktur för att kunna välkomna judar från hela världen. Arbetet fortsätter. Nu handlar det om att välkomna utsatta judar från bland annat Ukraina och Ryssland. Din gåva skapar förutsättningar för deras utbildning, försörjning och integration. Fira med oss att den 2000-åriga drömmen om Sion har infriats. Fira Israel 75 år genom en jubileumsgåva. Alla som ger 750 kronor eller mer får ett jubileumsdiplom och en pin med Raoul Wallenbergs diplomatväska. Betala via Swish eller bankgiro. Märk din betalning Israel 75 år.
Ja du Ruben, nu ser vi utsikten från Sionberget.
Precis.
Ja, och nedanför oss ligger ju då gamla stan och vi ser Sionporten och vi ser lite längre bort ser vi Oljeberget eller Olivberget som det heter på hebreiska. Ja, och Davids stad strax nedanför muren, stadsmuren.
Messias ska komma tillbaka. Det är ju en central tanke i judendomen.
Ja.
Var kommer han komma tillbaka någonstans?
Ja, han kommer ju då att vandra in genom en port som idag är igenmurad. Och den porten den ligger på östra sidan. Mot Oljeberget.
Gyllene porten.
Ja. Men visst är det vackert så här i kvällningen när vi har solen som lyser på gamla stan. Här längre bort på andra sidan dalgången så ser vi King David Hotel. King David Hotel var ju britternas högkvarter för det palestinska mandaten. Och spelade en stor betydelse därför att Menachem Begin och hans kumpaner, de lät ju spränga ena flygen på King David Hotel. De ringde innan och varnade, men ingen tog dem på allvar. Och de sprängde bort högra flyg, jag tror det var högra flygen av hotellet. Men det är återuppbyggt. Och idag kanske det mest kända hotellet i Israel. Det är det hotell där alla presidenter, alla som kommer på statsbesök bor där.
Ska vi ta lite grann ändå om den politiska historien kring Jerusalem. För även om staden har varit helt ointressant av alla de här världsherravälden som har dominerat området i 2000 år då, så när det judiska folket kom tillbaka och fick en relation till landet och därmed också landet började blomstra och Jerusalem började blomstra så vart också alla andra intresserade av Jerusalem.
Jag skulle inte uttrycka det som att de fick en relation till landet utan den relationen den har levt i 3000 år.
Helt riktigt, men de fick en fysisk relation till landet på det sättet att de var här.
Ja.
Så du kan ju lära känna någon som bor i USA och vet väldigt mycket om, och du kan också ha, dina förfäder kan ha varit i USA och du har hört talas väldigt mycket om det. Men att gå omkring i landet, den relationen har de ju fått.
Alltså, alla möjliga arméer har marscherat upp fram och tillbaka här längs kusten och intagit hamnstäderna Jaffa och Akko och så vidare, Haifa. Men rent strategiskt så har det här inte varit så viktigt för dem. Och därför så under väldigt många hundratals år så förlorade Jerusalem i betydelse och blev en mycket liten stad. Förutom för de judar som fortfarande och som envist höll sig kvar här. För då var det så att det som kallas för västra muren, Hakotel Hamaravi på hebreiska, det var det enda som fanns kvar av Salomos tempel. Och av det andra, både det första och andra templet. Så där har judar alltid stått och begråtit att man förlorade landet, man förlorade templet och man inte kunde fullgöra gudstjänsten som i fornstora dagar. Och det är faktiskt en bön som vi säger fortfarande i synagogan, att vi beklagar att templet inte finns där och att vi inte kan framföra våra offergåvor som i gamla tider.
En general som faktiskt intog Jerusalem, det var ju Allenby, den brittiska generalen, 1917. Men då fanns de här sionistiska strömningarna runt om, inte minst i Europa. Och samma år som Allenby intog Jerusalem så kom ju Balfour-deklarationen.
Precis. Brittiska utrikesministern säger då i ett brev att man ska skapa ett folkhem i det palestinska mandatet för judar. Det skulle bli ett judiskt folkhem.
Så det var ett steg, vi pratade om sionistkongressen förra programmet. Det här var ju också ett viktigt steg 1917, Balfour-deklarationen. Som följdes upp sen av Sanremo-konferensen och också om NF, Nationernas förbund, föregångare till Förenta Nationerna, som slog fast samma sak. Delvis kan man säga, det fanns ju modifieringar. Att judarna hade en historisk anknytning till landet.
Absolut. Och man gör ju massor av arkeologiska utgrävningar här och man hittar ju hela tiden bevis om denna starka anknytning mellan det judiska folket och Jerusalem och landet Israel.
Det är så, i och med att arméerna har marscherat här, så om man gräver sig ner i jorden så liksom, det blir en historielektion.
Ja, men det är precis det man gör. Man tar ett tvärsnitt och så ser man varje
civilisation.
Ja, den ena på den andra. Och man kan till och med se om det var krig, om just den platsen intogs i strid och att det förorsakade bränder och så vidare. Så att det är väldigt fascinerande. Och just nu så dammsuger de hela Judeen och Samarien. Alla grottor kartläggs och man hittar föremål. Fantastiska föremål. Men det var ju så man hittade Döda havsrullarna. De fanns i en grotta ganska nära Döda havet.
I förra programmet så träffade vi Nachman Shai, Diaspora Minister. Och han berättade ju om hur det israeliska samhället har påverkats av alla dessa vågor av immigranter. Men vi ska få också en lite mer modern analys hur situationen är idag. Ja. Och för det har ju ökat nu de sista åren.
Alltså det där har ju pågått under, liksom ända sedan tanken på sionismen växte fram. så har det pågått olika invandringsvågor. Man kallar det för första invandringsvågen, andra och så vidare. Och det har ju varit förföljda judar som har kommit från olika håll i världen. Och det senaste har ju varit etiopiska judar och ryska judar.
1 miljon ryska judar kom ju när Berlinmuren föll och Sovjetimperiet rasade samman.
Ja. Och nu kan man nog tänka sig att det kommer en ny våg. Och det är det som Nachman Shai pratar om. Därför att det här kriget som nu har utbrutit i Ryssland och Ukraina, mellan Ryssland och Ukraina. Båda länderna har stora judiska befolkningar fortfarande. Och antisemitismen i dessa länder ökar. Och då vill många utvandra. Man pratar om att göra Aliyah. Och betydelsen av ordet Aliyah, det är att man går mot en högre höjd. Man betraktar alltså landet Israel och Jerusalem, att det ligger högt. Och Aliyah betyder att gå mot en höjd.
Ja, vi låter Nachman Shai berätta om den aktuella situationen just nu.
Can you say something about, the Jews in Ukraine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you helping them to
Very
get
much.
out?
Well, since the war, actually even in the eve of the war, for quite a long time, I've been working very closely with the leadership of the Jewish community in Ukraine. There were around 200,000 Jews living in Ukraine. Half of them were organized under Chabad leadership, and others were not associated with any institute. And we managed to help them financially. We were the first to extend them financial aid before the war broke out, to help them to get shelter, transportation, food, medicine, anything they needed for the upcoming war. And since then I've been talking to them every few weeks, and now we are working on the second phase of helping the Jews in Ukraine, which their situation is getting even worse and worse as a result of the entire situation in Ukraine. And even more than that, now we have to pay attention to Jews who left Ukraine as refugees, and they are settled in neighboring countries, including Germany, or Austria, maybe some in Hungary, Sweden, maybe in others, all over. And we would like to keep them, to keep their ties with Israel. Well, maybe one day they will go back to Ukraine, but for the time being, we feel that we bear special responsibility for the life of Jews all over the world, and now specifically for those who were forced to leave Ukraine and settled around their homeland, their home country.
We read in the papers that some of them have made Aliyah.
Yes.
How many?
Between 25,000 to 40,000 came to Israel as Olim Chadashim, as newcomers. But remember one thing, which is again very important: the males, the brothers, the fathers, sometimes the children were forced to stay behind. Yes. Those are half families, 1/3 of the family or 2/3 of the family. They miss their relatives very much. So they are on the one hand settled in Israel, but on the other hand, they are talking to their dear ones all the time, and they are maybe once in a while they even travel to Europe, or their family members coming to, I don't know if it's possible to meet, or maybe to go back to Ukraine and then come to Israel, because it's going to be very long. No one knows how long this crisis or this war will continue. And meanwhile, they miss their families very much. It's the opposite about Russian Jews, who are trying to get now from Russia, from their own reasons, and it's only about males, because they were called for military service now, and they're not necessarily very excited about it. So here's the other half of the picture. Here males are leaving Russia, and their families in many cases are staying behind. Jewish story. There are a few thousands who came from Russia too. Now we try to expedite the process, because they come to Israel according to what we call the law of returns, which gives immediately Israeli citizenship to any Jew who would like to come to Israel in any time, any stage of his or her life. That's called the law of return. It's a unique law, which is typical to the state of Israel, which is a Jewish state, the state of the Jewish people. So they could exercise, they did already exercise their right, they come to Israel, and many others. There are 600,000 Jews living in Russia now, and 200,000, much less now, in Ukraine. Each one of them is eligible anytime he or she would like to come to Israel, to get Israeli citizenship, Israeli ID, to get some assistance from the government, housing, learning the language, education, and settle in Israel. The story of Israel is the story of millions of Jews who came from all over the world and settled here in our home, in our ancient home.
We read also about growing anti-Semitic tendencies, both in Russia and also in Ukraine. Can you comment?
Historically, Ukraine was the anti-Semitism in Ukraine was very high. We all remember, and we will never forget, the history of Ukraine and the Jewish people. We keep hearing that even recently, when Israelis were arguing whether we should open the country for non-Jews to come as refugees to the country. My opinion was that they are allowed to come and they deserve it, and we as a state of refugees. Don't forget the Jewish history. The Jewish history is also history of refugees wandering around the world, especially in Europe. So we have a special responsibility for refugees. I'm not saying that they will have to or can settle here for the entire rest of their life, but to give them temporarily shelter, food, warm water to take a shower, or to live here for some time until hopefully the war will stop or something will. Well, unfortunately that doesn't look like it's going to end soon, but we have to be aware and to be sensitive and to show that we are human beings and let them come in too. So in addition to the Jews who came to Israel and became Israelis immediately, those are not being given Israeli citizenship, but should be given a place to stay, temporary place to stay, as I said, for a while.
I know that you lived in the US for some time, and the biggest Jewish population outside of Israel is in the US.
Yeah, around 6 million people.
What do you think? We read very disturbing articles about growing anti-Semites in US.
Yeah, it's true, and it's very worrying for us to watch the rise of anti-Semitism globally, and I would say especially in the United States. If you look at some surveys, some pieces of research that were made regarding anti-Semitism, you hear that high percentage of Jews are concerned. Students specifically in research that I've just seen expressed their concern about the rise of anti-Semitism in American university campuses. They're scared. They're literally scared. And they were exposed to anti-Semitism, something that hasn't happened to them in their earlier life. And it's coming, by the way, from right and left in America. The number of cases, mostly it's on online anti-Semitism, which is now very convenient, very easy, and you can hide beyond the fake names, so no one knows who's the source of that fake story or whatever you carry, the content you can produce any content. Sometimes, very rarely, the technological companies like Facebook or Twitter or Telegram or others wake up and take responsibility for the content. Usually they say, it's not our business. We are just providing the floor, providing the arena, and we have no involvement in that. And they should. We urge them all the time. Don't stop watching, reading, and cleaning the social media from those messages. But they are not very eager because they live out of it. That's their business, and so they leave it as is. Yes, there is a rise of anti-Semitism in the United States.
Last week, the whole world talked about Iran drones.
Iran. Drones.
Friday, also Israel attacked Damascus and destroyed an Iran drone factory.
Israel, I would not specifically relate to this
someone,
event, but someone from somewhere. In general, we are conducting a certain war, a kind of war, but it's not an all-out war against Iranian targets, mainly in Syria. We made it clear to them we don't want to let them get close to the border, and we don't want to let them equip the Hezbollah with accurate weapons, including rockets and missiles, which they try very hard. We also conducted all kinds of operations against Iran in the air, in the sea, cyber, and other ways, again, to slow down the pace of enriching uranium, which is so necessary in order to produce a nuclear bomb, an atom bomb in the future. And we'll continue to do that. Whatever negotiation, there is any negotiation, or there isn't, one day it's on, one day it's out, we have our own goal to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, and we'll do our best.
Can you say something about the complexity when it comes to the Iran drones in Ukraine?
Iran's involvement in the war is a source of concern to us. It's a worrisome development which we didn't expect. Iran now is cooperating with Russia. There's no way to deny it because it became a well-known fact that they are sending them arms, helping them to fight Ukraine. I don't know more than the Iranian drones, but maybe in other ways. It was reported also they're going to send them ballistic missiles as well. Well, we've been saying for years that Iran is not only a source of concern, or I would say is not only a danger for the Middle East stability, but it can easily grow to a world concern. And now it has been manifested in the war between Russia and Ukraine. You can see that the Iranians are jumping into this war, which is far away from the border, but that's the character of the Iranian regime. They are just looking for opportunities where to use their military might, and currently it's with Russia against Ukraine. They've been cooperating also with the Russians in Syria, as we know. Both helped the Syrian government to bring down the rebels which were fighting against the Syrian government. So there's an history here between the two states. But we are very careful, as you know. Israel's policy vis-a-vis the war between Ukraine and Russia has been very, very careful.
Can you comment about the plans to close down the Jewish agency in Russia?
Yeah, we asked the Russians to let the Jewish agency continue its operation in Russia. We see no reason why they will have to leave the country. They were ordered by the government to leave Russia and depart from there after scores of years of working with the Jewish community there, in some cases helping them to make Aliyah, to come to Israel. The Russians were not happy about that, And now it's being discussed in a Moscow court, and be decided by the Russian court, by the Russian judge. But it has been postponed already a few times, and the Jewish Agency, I feel very bad about that, because we would like Jews to enjoy freedom to be free and to be able to decide where they would like to live and what kind of life they would like to live, and being able to live Jewish life is one of the, I would say, the goal, the raison d'etre of the state of Israel.
But is Russia today stopping Jews from making Aliyah?
I don't know about that. I know that there's a long line of Russian Jews who would like to come to Israel. The airplanes are full, but there's no enough number of flights between Russia and Israel. But there's a long line for months, waiting for the approval to come to Israel and make Aliyah. There's a lot of interest, so that we may end up with another thousands and thousands of Russian Jews that will end up in Israel. Let me remind you that around 30 years ago, in the early 90s, over 1 million Jews left Russia and made Aliyah, immigrated to Israel. It's a huge number.
And it created a boom for Israel's economy.
Absolutely. There are mainly people with high education, with university education. For example, there were 40,000 medical doctors who came to Israel at the time. 40,000. Only 20,000 of them finally exercised their profession, but in general there were 40,000 medical doctors.
Ja, det var allt för denna gång om drömmen om Sion. Och se oss nästa vecka igen, samma tid, samma kanal.
Everybody raise your head. Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. Ay, 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 ay. Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. Oy, oy, ay, 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 ay. Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. Ay, 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 ay. Birushalayim, 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 Birushalayim.
I vår fyller Israel 75 år. Vi vill fira detta genom att färdigställa Raoul Wallenberg Park utanför Jerusalem. Raoul Wallenberg var en svensk hjälte som på uppdrag av UD räddade tiotusentals judar under andra världskriget.
Raoul Wallenberg is an angel. He saved us, come from heaven to save us and go back to I receive my life like I pray.
Vår målsättning är att Sverige ska bli det Israelvänligaste landet i Europa. Parken är en viktig pusselbit i relationerna mellan Sverige och Israel. Fira med oss att den 2000-åriga drömmen om Sion har infriats. Fira Israel 75 år genom en jubileumsgåva. Alla som ger 750 kronor eller mer får ett jubileumsdiplom och en pin med Raoul Wallenbergs diplomatväska. Betala via Swish eller bankgiro. Märk din betalning Israel 75 år.